I'm Janine Plummer with the Crystal Smith Real Estate Group. I'm proud to be from Ocala, and I truly love this community. That's why I'm excited to sponsor the Ocala Main Street podcast, supporting local stories, local businesses, and the place we call home.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Mornings on Main, where we're giving you the latest updates on everything in downtown, midtown, and Tuscaloosa. And I'm so excited to have our guest here with us today, Aubrey Hale, who is the planning director for the city of Ocala. So, Aubrey, you have been with the city for how long now?
That should be an easy answer, but
Yeah.
It's actually a little more complex.
Okay.
So I actually started with the city back in 2000 and late 2009.
Okay, yeah.
And then stayed with the city for about 3.5 years, and then left and went to Clearwater for a few years, and then migrated back to Ocala around 2016. So I've been almost coming up on my 10 years.
Gosh, yeah, I can't even believe it. Wow, that's amazing. So have you always been in the planning and growth management departments?
Growth management, yeah. Initially, when I started out, it was more just project management, kind of project coordination, and then just sort of grew from there. I have a background in architecture, and that's where the world, I kind of was a product of the recession. And so, career path diverged a little bit, and found myself in growth management at the city, and here we are.
Well, I'm so glad I get to work with you.
Absolutely.
It feels like a weekly basis lately. But in your current role, tell us a little bit about what you do and the purpose of your department, really.
Yeah. Well, so we are, I do work for our growth management director, which is Jeff Schramm. And overall, growth management is a very broad department. We touch a lot of different areas. I believe we have 7 different divisions within growth management. And as the planning director, I'm over 4 of those. We have economic development, planning, obviously. We have cultural art.
Yes.
And the parking division, which is also part of that. So, so it's pretty diverse. We end up focusing on, from the planning side, a lot of it is, just the plans that we're trying to implement, the vision that the city has established.
Right.
And then, that's kind of our longer range side of it. Then we have the shorter range, which is dealing with the rezoning cases, the site plans, the building permit reviews, things like that. And then economic development, and it's another division that helps to implement the vision, and all of our CRAs and our our other vision plans that we may have for some of our community areas. And then cultural arts is kind of cultural arts and parking are kind of our implementers. They're the ones that are really active. They're out there doing the things that we're trying to encourage, like new events, and, trying to activate different areas. So, and then, parking is not fun, but it,
well, our last episode, the recent episode was parking. So
it's a necessary thing. And sometimes it helps, create the turnover for parking and to free up, so that way parking spaces aren't being, just what's the word,
occupied constantly. There's a better word for it.
So, but it's trying to make that turnover so that way it encourages new people to come in and activate the local businesses. So
well, it's interesting too, because I think like a lot of people, I'm glad that we got to have Bill Spinney on the show to talk about parking specifically. And then, in spoiler alert, in an upcoming episode at some point, we'll talk about cultural arts as well, because I think it's not common knowledge necessarily that they're the ones that are behind like First Friday Art Walk. They're managing all of the public art and the sculpture. So they're really busy, and they do really great work, and the things that we get to take advantage of in the downtown area. So
and we're getting ready to do our new sculpture stroll, putting that out. So that'll be coming soon, and so you'll be seeing a lot of movement here probably within the next few months, and artwork changing out, new stuff coming in. So it'll be next year is going to be pretty fun.
Well, they stay very busy. So, and it seems like your department planning encapsulates a lot. One of the things that you mentioned was the CRA, which is what I really wanted to talk to you about today. I think with the recent hotel with the parking garage, all of that noise, if you will, that was online. And I think,
Yeah.
it was a good opportunity for us to educate folks that were commenting on some of the posts about developers agreements and why they had the incentive package that they did. But even with the Marion Hotel that's coming online and will be coming up for discussion at City Council, I think it's important for our community. And before I was at Main Street, I had no idea what a CRA was. And from the outside looking in, maybe if you don't understand why things happen the way that they do, I can understand some of the pushback. But can you talk to us about CRAs, kind of the main purpose of them? We talked briefly on, I think, our first episode of back in the 80s when we were trying to deal with the blight that was happening in the downtown areas. A lot of CRAs were developed at that time. So can you talk a little bit about the history to catch people up that maybe didn't see that episode and why our city decided to implement one?
Okay. Well, we actually have 4 different CRAs in the city. Our 2 oldest ones are North Magnolia, which basically goes from the train tracks all the way up to around 20th Street. All along the North Magnolia corridor, and kind of goes up until about 441 on the west, and at about 8th Avenue on the east.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of the boundaries of the North Mag CRA, and again, it's one of our oldest. Then we also have the downtown, which is our oldest CRA,
Right.
and that one was established in 1988. And basically, what a CRA does, they call them Community Redevelopment Areas. And you have to meet a certain, criteria. There's got to be like slum and blighted conditions. A lot of that is this is a tool that the governments or that the municipalities can utilize to help reinvigorate and revitalize and ultimately lead to redevelopment within that area. So we can freeze the taxable value at the time of when the CRA was established. And then as those taxable values increase over time, that amount basically, goes into a specialized account that we can then push towards different projects that will align with what the CRA is trying to do. So if you're taking underutilized properties and putting on a brand new project, you're going to increase the overall taxable value of that area, and it's going to have some catalytic type things that will spawn off of that development. So that's one of the things that we end up, we utilize the CRA in that manner to help incentivize some of those projects to come in, because ultimately there will be some cost up front, but then it's going to pay out in the end. And then everybody kind of gets to reap the benefits of that incentive. And eventually it will get to a point where we won't have to do that. But again, this is, the initial charge is to try to get this stuff started. And then once it gets going, it'll just be kind of taking a life on its own at that point.
Well, yeah, because our downtown in North Mag, really all of the 4 CRA locations, they have the geographic boundaries. You talked about the North Magnolia one, and the downtown matches the Ocala Main Street district as well, right? So, if you look back at the 80s, even the 90s or the early 2000s, what downtown was then, right? We needed that financial support to incentivize and encourage businesses to come back into downtown, because it really was my favorite saying that I think is Larry Bush from our board. He says it all the time, but it's perfect because he goes, you could have put a cannon on Magnolia and shot it and wouldn't hit a single soul back in the early 2000s. So I think it was, kudos to the city for the foresight and establishing it so that we could bring larger scale developments that we're seeing now and are needing now.
Well, and I think and it's not just the larger developments either. We were able to create grant programs through that, and those grant programs can be utilized by local businesses, and depending on the type of CRA, where the makeup of the CRA, if we have a lot of residential in the area, even the residences can utilize it. So even like in our East Ocala and West Ocala, we have residential improvement grants that have been very beneficial, and it helped to as long as, we're trying to take advantage of all the existing assets that we have in the city. So
Right.
if those buildings can live longer,
Mm-hmm.
we're ultimately going to, be a healthier community for that. So,
Right.
and that's how we can, push some of these CRA grants into those different avenues.
Yeah.
So I think it really is a great tool for us to use, and it has benefits beyond just what we see on the
Yeah.
large scale is with the developer incentives that we see, but it
Mm-hmm.
does go down into the nitty gritty of they can be grants of that match up to 50,000,
Right.
and and that gives people the ability to put new roofs on, new
Yeah.
facades, new window replacements. All of that stuff can be covered in the grant.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing too to understand that even the small businesses can take advantage of the CRA.
Right.
And it really is, I mean, when you think of that pot of money that is established within that geographic bounds, it really is just going back to support and
Right.
continue supporting that area and the businesses within
Yeah.
that district. So I think it's brilliant. So you talked about the facade grants, the matching grants, and the 50,000. I didn't know about the residential grants actually, and some of the other
Yeah, we really
communities.
don't have that available in the downtown CRA because we
Right.
just don't have the residential mass
No.
yet. But in the West Ocala and the East Ocala,
Mhm.
it's actually been a very useful tool.
Absolutely.
And I think you've seen even like just outside, the Tuscaloosa area,
Yep.
a lot of that is in the East Ocala CRA, and
Yeah.
a lot of the residences have utilized that. So if you see that out there painting or doing some roof
Hmm.
replacement, more than likely they probably got a
That's
CRA
awesome,
grant.
though.
Yeah.
That's really
So.
great. Well, and I think historic preservation is really important too. I mean, yeah, it does lead to a healthier community, but I think also just the culture and the feel of a community. You know,
Right.
we talk about a lot, or we hear, um, some of the griping and complaining about some of the larger developments is you're ruining Ocala and it's not going to have that small town feel. And I think, the CRA and it being a form-based code area as well,
Yeah.
which I wanted to talk to you about. I think that it's very intentional to keep that charm and that uniqueness for our own community.
Well, and that kind of goes back to, the city back in like 2011
Hmm.
did the 2035 vision.
Right.
And that really, we took advantage, one of the, disadvantages of having the recession was that we had time to spend on other, on some of these longer range things. So it
Sure.
ended up working out to where we used that time to reassess what the city was.
Sure.
And then that became the basis for, how we look forward to 2035. What is
Hmm.
the city going to look like? And
Yeah.
we, it was a strong public outreach that was part of that. We're going through that again with the 2050. We've been working on that for a little while, but we had a pretty successful public
Yeah.
outreach side of that as well,
Hmm.
where I think we reached out to over 1,000 people
Wow.
in the community, and that's going to lead us into the into the future years, and really it's going to continue to help hone what we're going to the city's going to look like and
Right.
and be into the year 2050. So
Yeah, it's really exciting. I think what a fun job to be able to implement like big picture planning and to be part of that cultivation of what it will look like
yeah,
in 25 years from now. I mean, that's wild
yeah,
and it goes by so fast.
it
So
does.
I'm sure, when they were putting together the 2035, I got to be part of the 2050
Yeah,
planning, and I think that was really exciting from a citizen's perspective. Getting
yeah,
to give our feedback was really neat, and you feel heard, and it's a great way to connect with your municipality
right,
and have that branch, if you will,
yeah,
to your
yeah,
citizens. So it's a really cool process. So I'm looking forward to when you guys do reveal that to us,
yeah,
and I know that's coming soon. Now with some of the grants and the developers agreements, there are restrictions, correct?
yes.
And within the CRA. So can you talk a little bit about like what that might look like, and when you see that clickbaity
Hmm.
article online, um what are some things that the public could be aware of when they're reading these so they can be educated and have more of a background of
Well,
where these dollars are coming from, and
yeah,
why you guys do the
it's
developers agreements the
really
way you
what it's just doing is it's kind of helping to reallocate those tax funds.
do?
It's
Hmm.
not an additional tax or anything. It's
Right.
just it's a it's helping to direct those that tax money into a certain area.
Hmm.
And so people paying in the downtown are going to be able to have access to those funds. People in
Right.
West Ocala, East Ocala CRAs are going to have access to those via the grants that we can come
Right.
up with. And those monies are then diverted to those programs like we talked about. Some of them are special requests that, if we, think that it's, again, they're at almost investing $60 million.
Yeah.
That's a huge,
It's a huge
benefit.
investment. Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so there's going to be a lot of economic, return that the city's
Yeah.
going to see, not just in the city, the downtown CRA, but it could be felt, throughout the
Community
entire.
wide.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but at the end of the day, those grant funds can get funneled towards, or the monies can get funneled towards grants, which are going to more fixed assets. Like if again, going back to the facade grant
Sure.
program and the commercial improvement grant program. So it will help to that's one of the important things to understand too, is that the grant has to be going to something that's kind of tangible.
Right.
So we can't really help like on the side of funding how to operate your business.
Yeah.
But we can work on, you need a facade, that needs to get enhanced. It can take some of the burden off of a business owner,
Right.
to go through and do those repairs, or do, and do those improvements, to make the structure last longer, and ultimately you can have a higher taxable value.
Right.
The other thing is that we can, help encourage new infrastructure projects. So if we
Sure.
know that I think one of the coolest programs that we had was up in North Magnolia, where we actually had a grant program that kind of took the place of a DEP grant that ran out that would
Okay.
allow for septics, conversion from septic to sewer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we had a project where we're going through upgrading the roads, redoing some swales, but in the meantime we also allow for people to connect to the city sewer system as well.
Nice.
Because as part of that project, we put in new water lines, new sewer lines, allowing for that connectivity.
Right.
And basically that waives some of the connection fees. And so it was a good, grant program that allows, people to connect to our city services without having the impact of having,
That's amazing.
so, and again, anything that's like an infrastructure based, that helps, with the, future redevelopment of an area.
Right.
We can funnel monies toward that.
That's great. And I do think it's important too. I was just thinking about it. It's not, so there's the committee at the local level, right? That is citizens essentially, right? That are reviewing all of the grant applications. And then it's city council that is the overarching governing body for the CRA, right?
They're kind of acting, they have to put on two hats. Our CRAs are kind of embedded into the city.
Right.
And some of the other, CRAs in the state are kind of like pseudo government, so they run on their own.
Sure.
And sometimes that's where I think you find some of the conflicts is that you can, if one party is not, meshing well with the other party, then it kind of becomes, kind of a battle. But in this case, the CRAs are kind of all, ingrained, and the city council has to they're acting as our CRA board, but they have to function completely separate, so you can't intermix. So that's like when we had to present the developers agreement.
Yep.
We were using CRA incentives, so we had to take it to the CRA first
Yep.
to get them to approve it, and then there were some other things that the city had to do.
Yeah.
As in putting in some infrastructure or donate, things like that. That were outside of what the CRA was actually doing. So it needed to go to the city council for approval. So that's why you would see multiple approvals like that.
Yeah.
Because they have to approve it as two separate bodies. And
Yeah.
we try to, we work hard to try to make sure that we stay within the lines and don't go out of that. And
absolutely. But I think it's good too for the public to understand that it's going through multiple hands. It's not just like one person sitting in an office, just like stamping approval, on these agreements. And, us going through the procurement process, even for the Heart of the Park, I mean, it was amazing to just have that experience because it's like a whole committee and it's proposals and there's a selection process and grading criteria. I mean, it really is so many layers to it that you guys are definitely making sure that the funds are being utilized appropriately. And I think there's a lot of transparency there, which is also really great to know.
Yeah.
So, we talked about what downtown Ocala was like before the CRA, but can you talk about maybe some of those like early transformative projects that really helped shape downtown into what it is today that came out of the CRA?
Well, I think from my experience, our commercial grant and program has probably been our most successful.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it started between the downtown and North Mag, and those were the
Right.
ones that I think have had the longest lasting, value, and they really have. They helped get us to that next level. It established in the community. A lot of people know what the commercial improvement grant was. Initially, it started out as just facade improvement. You could only touch things that were on the outside.
Right, like the
Eventually,
awnings and
right,
paint and
yeah. Eventually, we grew that program, and it included, if you do external stuff, but you also include the internal as part of that, we can fund that as well. And so we got to a point where within the downtown area, near about every single business on I guess you would say our core streets, has taken advantage of a CRA grant. And then we're now at the point where we've had a few, big projects that are, some are still underway, others are complete, like the conversion of the fire station, even though that's technically in the East Ocala CRA. But it still was a catalytic site that was identified in our Midtown Master Plan that we did back in 2017, and seeing that transform, that project has been completed, and it looks great. It's a great reuse product, taking an old fire station and changing it into something pretty cool.
Did you know they won a state award from the Secretary of State this year for their preservation of it's an amazing reuse example. So good for them.
We like to see, and that went from a non-taxable property to now a taxable property. So you can see there's a definite benefit there.
Absolutely.
And then we also have the district, which was a CRA project, which was old.
Some love.
The old pie. And I know that they are intending to save the building to begin with, but at the end of the day, the best decision was to move forward with a new building, and we went into that world, and the district's been a great asset to the downtown. We have the forge that's under construction, it's nearing completion. I think they're shooting for within the next 4 months to be done. So there's been a lot of projects, and obviously we've got the hotels that are coming on right now, and the one that we have currently in the downtown. So there's a lot, but I think overall it's just we've had a big. It's been multiple things throughout that have kind of led us up to that point, and eventually and I think you've seen a lot of that. The fruits of our labors, I guess you would say, come to fruition, and we're really starting to, I think, build off of that momentum, and hopefully we can continue that and see where we go.
Well, it's really exciting. I think besides the aesthetic impact that it's had, even not just the facade grants, but the reusing of the spaces. Vacant spaces that were empty for decades, really, like the Forge and even Midtown Station, this location, activating vacant lots. All of that has a positive impact. I'm sure that there is a statistic or something that the city can share potentially, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot if you don't have it off the top of your head, but the economic impact that these projects have had since its inception, in the 80s. Is there like a ballpark figure?
We are working on that now to kind of show what our taxable values were then and now, and coming back to today's, standard. Right now within the downtown alone, we're at like 114 million, and is around what our taxable value is. And so, and as we see some of these new projects that get added on, like the AC Marriott, it's going to add another $20 million of taxable value.
That's insane.
And so it's I think when you start seeing those things come to fruition, we're going to, that'll tell the story. I don't have the exact, stats right now,
Yeah,
but we
that's
are
all
working
right.
on putting all that together.
I think it will be interesting, and we'll share it when the city releases that information, because I think that just to put a number on it will tell a huge story for the community about how this has impacted us positively. So, but I can't thank you enough for the work that you all are doing in the downtown area and for the entire city. But of course, we're geographically, fixed in downtown and midtown. But it's so exciting. I look forward to some of these other big projects and to see what they're going to do to transform our district. So
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting time.
I think
Yeah,
so too. Well, the next steps are Vision 2050. So we're excited to be able to share that information when the city releases that. And thank you again, Aubrey, for being with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
Stick around. We have a special portion of What's Going Down in Downtown, hosted this time by our sponsor, Janine Plummer.
Hi everyone, I'm Janine Plummer with the Crystal Snook Real Estate Group, and I'm a volunteer with the Ocala Main Street. And I'm here to share with you what's going down downtown in the next 2 weeks. I'm joined today with Heather James with the Stella Bird Whitman Community Health Center.
You got it. That's a mouthful.
But yes. And who else do we have with us today?
We have our little Gift for Marion mascot, Stella.
So they're going to tell us about an exciting event that they have coming up next weekend.
It is next weekend. I can't even believe it. So we're having our 2025s to the town. It is an exciting event, basically a food event that we have 20 vendors coming, food and beverage. We have, I know, we have everything from tenderloin crostinis to wings and everything in between. So there's something for every palate. We have non-alcoholic drinks for the kids or adults, and we have adult beverages as well.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what this is raising funds for and what the Community Health Center does?
Yes, so we are a primary care health center in the northwest part of Ocala. We treat the underserved primary care, so we take babies to the seasoned years, if I
That's a nice way to put it.
And we just want to be able to provide health care for the underserved, or the people that are in the middle of getting insurance, or people that their employer's insurance is too expensive.
Wonderful.
So this event is our fall fundraiser, and it's really our kickoff for Give for Marion, the community-wide nonprofit fundraiser.
Wonderful. And so last year you guys did it and you had a pretty good turnout?
We did. The vendors had fun. We had fun. Our people that came had fun. So we figured this is going to be an annual thing.
And so it is next Friday.
Yes, the 12th from 5 to 8. And we're going to have a DJ, and we're going to have a 360 photo booth as well.
Those are so
it
fun.
should be a lot of fun. Bring your family, just come have a good time. Have it be a date night, whatever.
Sounds great.
That would make you come and have fun and join us for, we're saying, eat for a cause.
I like it. Stick around for the rest of the upcoming events in the next 2 weeks. This Saturday, September 6th, the Riley is hosting The Boss Project, a tribute to Bruce Springsteen, at 7:30 p.m. On September 7th, enjoy Joshua and Hannah Mazarin from the Ocala Symphony in the Noma Black Box, starting at 3 p.m. In addition to the Taste of the Town, on September 12th, the Riley Black Box is hosting Dueling Pianos and Dueling Pianos Uncensored at 6 and 9 respectively. Check out the comedic hypnotist Flip Orley on Saturday, September 13th at 7:30 p.m. or the Girls' Night Out Anniversary Shopping Party at the Downtown Market at 6 p.m. And as always, be sure to check out the Ocala Main Street calendar for upcoming events and your recurring favorites in the Ocala Downtown, Midtown, and Tuscaloosa Park.
Do it. Come on.